Welcome back to my channel, guys. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my technique on how I restring guitars. I'm also going to be doing a voiceover for this episode because I tried filming this outdoors in a more vlog style, but the background noise was too noisy. This is my first time doing it, so please enjoy this video. Alright, so for the tools you're going to need, very simple. The first one is a string winder. So if you don't already have one, please do yourself a favor and go and get one. It has a wire cutter at the back to cut the strings, and also a winder for you to wind the tuning pegs. Alright, secondly, you're going to need your strings. And lastly, you're going to need your tuner. So we're going to carry on with the restringing now. I'm just going to go through the process of how I normally do the restringing, and I'm going to talk through the things that I'm doing. So yeah, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing I always do when I restring a guitar is to turn all these holes on the tuning heads, all these holes over here, face them towards the nut, just like that. And by doing this, you make your restringing process a lot faster and a lot more convenient. So all the holes are facing the nut. Another thing I want to point out is a common mistake that people make. It's the direction of which the strings turn when you tune up the guitar. So if you're having trouble understanding what I'm saying, let me show you an example. So let me just tune up this E string. Now generally on a headstock like this, oops, sorry, the wind was too strong. Okay, so generally on a headstock like this, it's 3 aside. So 3 on the left and 3 on the right. Now, if you are restringing the bass side of the strings, like this low E, you want to turn the tuning pegs forward. Alright, you want all the string wraps to wrap inward towards the nut, always on the inside. So on the bass strings, you turn it forward to have the strings on the inside, wrapped this way. And on the treble side, you want to turn the knobs backwards to have the strings on the inside, the opposite way. Now, a common mistake people make is having the string wraps outside, here and here. Now this is going to cause a lot of tension at the nut slots, and in the worst case scenario, it might cause the nut to chip off. Okay, so just remember, for a guitar like that, always have the strings on the inner side. Okay, now back to the restringing. The first step, like I mentioned, is to turn all the holes towards the nut. And now for the second step, what I like to do is remove the tailpiece for tunematic bridges like this. Remove the tailpiece so that I can slot in all the strings at one go. Alright, so now that this is done, we are just going to clip this tailpiece back into place. Just like that. And when starting with the restring, just my own personal preference, I like to start with the low string first, just because I find it easier that way. So starting with the low E, string the string through the hole and make sure that the string is in the nut slot. Alright, through the hole here, and ensure it's in the nut slot. And if you look back here, it has to be in the saddle slot as well. Now the secret of having a good restringing technique is to always keep string tension at the tuning head, over here. So I clip it with the rest of my fingers and pinch the string in place. Alright, now I'm going to pull the string back just over the first fret for the low E. So as the strings get thinner, you're going to pull the slack back further and further until you reach the 3rd fret on the high E string. Okay, so for the low E, hold the string under tension, pinch at the nut, and pull it back right behind the 1st fret. Okay, so now holding the string in place, right behind the 1st fret, this excess slack over here, you just wrap it around the tuning head, like so. Always make sure the string is on the inner side of the tuning head. And now make a nick at the end to hold the string in place. Now grab a string winder, and while keeping tension of the string with your finger here, Let me just show you. The initial wrap is going to be on top of where the string exits, over here. The wrap is going to be over the top, and the rest of the wraps are going to be below where the string exits. Alright, so let me just show you while I wind the string up. Keeping tension on the string, start winding forward. So if you take a close look here, you can see that where the string exits, there's one wrap above and one wrap below. And this is going to clip the string in place for more secure tuning. So now just tune it up. Once you feel a bit of tension, doesn't have to be too much, a bit of tension and you're done. Now using the wire cutter, you're going to cut off the excess. And you're done. That's basically it. So you just do the same thing for the rest of the strings. Okay, so now moving on to the next string is an A string. We do the same thing, feed it through the hole here, make sure it's in the nut slot, in the saddle slot, pinch at the nut and pull it back just a little more than what I did for the low E string. Okay, now wrap it inwards, always inwards towards the headstop, make a nick at the end to hold it in place and start winding. Always keeping tension with your right hand. Just wind it until you start to feel tension on the strings. Doesn't have to be too much. Clip off the excess and you're done. Alright, so now moving on to the D string. Feed it through the hole, hold it in place, in the nut slot, in the saddle slot, pinch at the nut, pull it back a little bit more than what I did for the A string. Now wrap it inwards towards the headstop, make a nick at the end to hold it in place, and just start winding. Always keeping tension of the string on your right hand. Now take a closer look over here. You can see that every string wrap is below the next wrap. So it's a neat stack at the machine head. Now clip off the excess and you're done with the string. Now let me show you what I use to restring. It's basically a DIY tool with a hand drill. It's a string winder head that I clipped off and made it usable with the hand drill. It just saves a lot of effort. So let me show you how it works. Okay, moving on to the next string, now the G string. Same thing, feed it through the hole, hold it, make sure it's in the nut slot and the saddle slot, hold the string in place, pinch it at the nut, so make sure you're keeping tension here, pinch it at the nut and pull it back more than what I did for the D string. Now since it's on the treble side, we're going to wrap the strings the other way, so inwards, always inwards, opposite direction from the bass strings. Okay, so holding tension, make a nick at the end. Let me show you how this hand drill works. You can see it works exactly the same as the string winder, it's just that you don't have to be physically winding it, as the drill is doing the work for you. So now we're done, clip off the excess. That's how fast you can restring it if you have a tool like that. Alright, moving on to the next string, the B string. Feed the string through, we do the same thing, make sure it's in the nut slot and in the saddle slot. Pull it back a little more than what it did for the G string.
Can I ask a question? Why do you need to pull it back more and more?
Okay, so there are two reasons for this. The first reason is that the string windings actually help hold the string in place. So for the treble strings you need more because the tension will not be as much as on the bass strings. So you can see on the low E string here there are 2 reps and then it gets more and more as the string gets thinner. Okay, so for this B string there's going to be more reps than before. And the second reason, the more important reason, is that the more reps there are, the bigger the angle, the break angle is going to be at the nut. So let me show you here. Just for example, for this string, compare this angle, come take a closer look. So compare this angle here, compared to this angle, and this angle. So with more string reps, you have a bigger angle that's going downwards, and this is going to hold the string securely in the nut. If you don't have this, if there's not enough break angle, sometimes there's going to be some buzzing or rattling issues that occurs at the nut. So you have to be very careful with that. Ideally, you want an angle that goes downwards towards the machine head. Not too straight and not too much, but there's a sweet spot that you have to figure out on your own guitar, because every machine head has its hole at a different position. Some are higher and some are lower. So you have to figure out that sweet spot for your guitar. Okay, so now let's just string up the B string. Back to using the string winder. Holding tension on the string as the strings get thinner because there's more slack, it's going to be a bit more tricky, but you'll get a hang of it once you start doing this more. Okay, so I can feel the string start to increase in tension. And just as it's enough tension, we should be done with the string. Clip it off, and we're moving on to the last one, the E string, the high E string. String it through, make sure it's in the nut slot, in the saddle slot, very important. Hold it in place, pinch at the nut, and pull it back all the way to the 3rd fret now, because we are already at the last string. So more and more slack as the strings get thinner. Wrap it inwards towards the headstock, make a nick at the end to hold the string in place, and start tightening the string. Now I'm going to use my fingers just to show you that it's humanly possible to restring a guitar without any tools. Okay, so it just takes a lot more effort and a lot more forearm strength to restring. Okay, actually I give up. I'll just use my drill. Okay, very importantly, always keeping tension with your right hand. So both left and right hand techniques are very important, and you'll get the hang of it once you start restringing your guitar more often. So just clip off the excess, and we're done. Now have a look at the headstock here. You can see that all the strings are on the inside of the tuners. Not the outside, it's not going out here, but the inside of every tuner. You can see the amount of each winds. There's enough to give a good break angle over the nut, as I mentioned. So you need more reps as the strings get thinner to get a good break angle over the nut. And as mentioned earlier, if you do not do this, you might face some string rattling or buzzing issues at the nut. And the reason is because without a good break angle, the strings are not held securely in place at the nut. Alright, now after you've done your restringing, of course, the only thing that's left to do is to tune up the guitar. And there's also a secret to this. So when tuning up your guitar, always hold your guitar up in the playing position. And the reason for this, let me just show you. If I lay the guitar down flat on the table like that, and I tune up one string, let's say we use the low E string. Let's just bring this string up to perfect pitch. And there we are, perfect pitch on the low E string. Now the guitar is laying flat on the table, and when I hold it up in the playing position, and I play that low E again, watch where the tuning is. It's sitting flat, and this is going to be like that for all the rest of the strings, because when the guitar is up in a playing position like that, there's lesser gravity pull backwards on the neck as compared to when it's down here. So always remember to tune and set up your instruments in a playing position like this, and not down flat on the table like that. Okay, so I hope this video helps people out there who are having trouble with restringing their guitars, or if you just want to learn some tips and tricks on it. What else do I have to say? If you like this video, please subscribe, like this video, comment down below, let me know what you want to see next, and goodbye.